And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, President-elect Trump continues his thank you tour. We'll have highlights for you. That's coming up later in the show. But first, sore loser Democrats continue to push the idea that Russia helped President-elect Trump win the election. That's tonight's opening monologue. All right, so liberals, they desperately keep playing up a narrative that Russia has hacked and helped Donald Trump with his electoral victory over Hillary Clinton, despite, of course, conflicting views on the issue of intelligence from the CIA and the FBI. Now, the left wing is running wild with the reports that say that the CIA, without any concrete or new evidence, none, they had it all before the election, they think now that Russian hackers influenced the election all in favor of Donald Trump. That's their conspiracy. Now, Democrats and the abusively biased alt-left mainstream media, they're pushing the CIA's assessment as an undeniable fact. But, of course, you need to know the truth. It is not. Now, the FBI has reached a much different conclusion than the CIA because they have not found conclusive evidence that Russia was trying to assist Donald Trump in any way. Now, Reuters is reporting that America's top spy agency, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, is not embracing the CIA's conclusions either. Why? There's a lack of evidence. Now, instead of accepting the facts on all of this and telling you, the American people, the truth, the left, led by President Obama, continue to repeat falsehoods. Why? What's their motive here? To delegitimize President-elect Donald Trump. As for President Obama, now he's done a major flip-flop on the potential of the election in America being rigged or interfered with. You may remember back in October, well, this is President Obama mocking Donald Trump for raising concerns about fairness in an election. Watch this.
The larger point that I want to emphasize here is that there is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections. And so I'd advise Mr. Trump to stop whining and go try to make his case to get votes.
You couldn't do it. Stop whining. Who's whining now? So only after Donald Trump won, well, now President Obama is saying that, yes, outside forces could have influenced the election. Take a look at the hypocrisy from the president. This was on The Daily Show last night. Take a look.
Russia trying to influence our elections dates back to the Soviet Union. What they did here, hacking some emails and releasing them, is not a particularly fancy brand of espionage or propaganda. We were, frankly, more concerned in the run-up to the election to the possibilities of vote tampering, which we did not see evidence of, and we're confident that we could guard against.
Remember last week, opening monologue, I said, they are not your friends. Obama is not Donald Trump's friend. Now, in the same interview, President Obama took the Russian hacking idea even further by alleging that President-elect Trump has direct ties to Russia. Let's take a look.
You had what was very clear relationships between members of the President-elect's campaign team and Russians, and a professed shared view on a bunch of issues.
Now, when it comes to working with the Russians, well, President Obama clearly has a pretty short memory. Now, you may remember when he was caught on a hot mic saying this to the Prime Minister, Dmitry Medvedev, back in 2012.
This is my last election for you. Yeah, after my election, I have more flexibility. Yeah, I understand. I transmit this information to Vladimir.
And as long as we're talking about the issue of interfering in elections, well, the Obama administration, they know a lot about that, too. Remember a congressional investigation? They found that back in 2014, an Israeli political group used a $300,000 Obama State Department grant. Why? To create a political apparatus to try and defeat the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, while President Obama pretends to be morally outraged over Russian hacking and influence, well, he's done next to nothing on cybersecurity in the entire 8 years he's been president. Now, despite several massive attacks, by the way, on the federal government during that time frame, for example, since 2012, hackers have attacked NASA, the Department of Energy, the FEC, commission networks, the U.S. Postal Service, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They've hacked the White House, the State Department, the Department of Defense, the IRS, and the Office of Personnel Management. Now, the whole election cycle was all about Hillary Clinton's emails, WikiLeaks. So where was the hacking outrage before she lost? Now, on this show, we have been warning that something needs to be done, which is why I've been saying often and criticized often for saying that we need to learn from Julian Assange and WikiLeaks and actually try and fix the problem. Remember, he hacked into NASA and the Department of Defense when he was only 16 years old. Well, that's not going to happen any time before January 20th, because here's the simple truth that you've got to remember. The president doesn't care about hacking. All he cares about, after 8 years of doing nothing, is to undermine and delegitimize Donald Trump's presidency. Here now, with reaction, editor-in-chief of LifeZette, Fox News contributor Laura Ingraham. Laura, if they cared about hacking, we've known that this has been going on. They don't care about hacking. This is about politics. Do you agree or disagree?
Totally agree. If Hillary had won the election, we'd never hear anything about this again. They'd move on to the other cause of the moment or the day. And remember, Sean, when we learned that the Chinese had hacked into 50 million U.S. personnel files, including mine. And I know that because I got a notice from the U.S. government saying that they would give me, I think, a year of some type of identity theft protection service because they had my background
is a sponsor of mine, Laura, and probably yours too.
Yeah. Well, they had a copy of my background check for when I was a White House employee or Supreme Court clerk or one of those two. So I don't remember President Obama ever taking China to task. They have 50 million files of Social Security numbers, home addresses, all of our siblings, all the places where we ever lived, of 50 million government employees. That's China. Now, last time I checked, they're one of our geopolitical adversaries as well. So you're exactly right. You're right on the money on this. This is all about sour grapes and trying to delegitimize the Trump victory, and also, I think, try to subtract from any mandate that he believes, rightly, that he has to reform the government. So they never change their ideas about policy, Sean. They just move their lines of attack, which is what they're doing right now.
It's funny because Obama did go on 60 Minutes and sort of exonerated Hillary Clinton over the email server scandal. Oh, it's no big deal. Now, of course, we later learned a 99% certainty that 5 foreign intelligence agencies were able to get top secret information, special access program information. So he was wrong there, nor did he seem to care. So I've got to believe that all of this is politics. So here's my next question. First, they tried the recount. That didn't work out too well for them. Now they're trying the hacking. But behind the scenes, it seems that Obama and Clinton surrogates have their fingerprints all over this electoral college effort to try and get them to switch their votes. Do you take that as real? We're 6 days away from the Electoral College voting.
I think we won't know until the vote is actually cast. I think the push to get all the Trump electors to watch or to get some type of intelligence briefing, I mean, that's really rich. I mean, why shouldn't the Clinton electors get a briefing as to all the things that you described in your monologue? The breaches into our system, the lack of transparency right off the bat, and all for prevarication and misrepresentation, to put it kindly. I mean, they should get that briefing. If the Trump people are going to get another type of briefing, let's make it fair. So, but look, is this going to change the outcome? I doubt it. But I think a lot of this, Sean, is about feeding the beast of these activist groups that are really antsy and angry right now on the left. They feel like they put it all on the line for Hillary Clinton, even though a lot of them like Sanders better. They were suspicious of Mrs. Clinton for her ties to the establishment, but a lot of them kind of, bit the dust for her anyway. And now they're mad. And they need something to believe in. They need something to hold on to. So I think this is as much about getting email addresses and raising money for the next electoral push as it is about anything else.
Let me ask you this, because every bit of information that we're hearing, we all knew before the election. There's nothing new here. Now, the Director of National Intelligence, Clapper, the FBI director, and the FBI itself, they've come to very different conclusions about this. There's nothing new here. So then that raises questions. Why is the media and why is Hillary Clinton, who warned that Donald Trump can't do this? This has never happened. You can't challenge an election like this. That's not how our system works. how does she justify being a part of all of these efforts?
Well, I think it's kind of rich for Hillary Clinton to tell us that's not how the system worked, when that's the entire way she ran the State Department, whether it was the influence peddling that we knew was happening, the use of consultants who are also on the government payroll, who are working for the Teneo Corporation. All of that shouldn't have been done. So whether Donald Trump decides not to pursue an investigation into the Clinton Foundation or not, we know what was happening. But that's not
his call, is it? Wouldn't that be the Attorney General and Justice Department's call?
I think ultimately it would be. But obviously, whatever signal Trump gives probably is going to have some influence. But I agree. If you're going to run based on the rule of law applying across the board to all people, regardless of what their last name is or where they came from, and if there was real criminality here, or potential for real criminality, probable cause to believe there's criminality, then I think you have to really take this seriously.
And the CIA, we know, for example, the Obama administration has a history of manipulating intelligence for gain, like in the CENTCOM scandal. But also, didn't the CIA write or rewrite the talking points as it all related to Benghazi?
The Benghazi.
But having never spoken to anybody that was there on the ground, they manufactured it in Langley. By the way, and I'm not criticizing our intelligence agency, but there are some political agents there that would have us believe this was a spontaneous attack where people had RPGs and mortars in their back pocket and spontaneously pulled them out and attacked the embassy, which never happened.
Now, I think there's a lot of reasons to believe, going back to the Iraq War, that there was politicized intelligence that was being put out to the American public for a variety of reasons. And again, I think there's such noble, heroic efforts on the part of our intelligence agencies. There's so many good men and women who are putting their lives on the line. We don't want to in any way cast aspersions on them. But the idea that it's just all sacrosanct because some anonymous source leaks it out of the CIA, I just think that's ridiculous. I mean,
all right, stay right there. We got to take a break. We're going to have more with Laura, though, coming up right after this quick break. And coming up, President-elect Trump, he holds another thank you to a rally tonight in the state of Wisconsin. We'll play the highlights. Plus, he made it official. Donald